Hey brothers, what's up? Today I'm going to be addressing a question which is frequently on the mind of our brothers who are in committed relationships or who are married. And that question is, what do I do if I'm in a committed relationship and I still feel the need to be desired by other women and I still feel a very strong sexual desire for other women? Does this have something to do with my porn use? Welcome brothers. So today we're going to be jumping right into it. This is actually a direct response to one of our brothers in the struggle in one of our groups who is in a committed relationship and still feels the need to be desired by other women and still has a very strong desire for other women. And I'm certain that some of you might also have this concern as well. The first thing I want to let you know is that this is a very common situation. It's just that we don't have many people speaking about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down and address it in two parts. The first thing is we're going to talk briefly about some of the societal / cultural / religious programming that is actually put into us that makes us have these expectations and makes us feel a certain way, usually guilty and shameful, about our desires. It makes us feel wrong about feeling the need to be desired by other women when we're already with somebody. Now there's this idea that is programmed into us. Again, you choose what it is for you, society, culture, or religion, that makes us believe that when we're in a committed relationship or when we're married, there's a certain level of almost perfection that we need to attain. Like usually, and I'm generalizing here, of course, not every relationship is the same or like this, but usually, the woman has to be the perfect partner. She cannot gain weight. She is expected to love you forever. She's not expected to cheat on you, all these things because you put a ring on her finger. And on your part, you're expected to be a provider. You're expected to be there for her. You guys are expected to keep having sex. You're expected to be very faithful. And there's nothing wrong with any of these things. For various reasons, this is a great thing. And for the most part, many of us have this biological need to pair up with somebody else. However, the truth is, even though we have this biological need to be in a committed relationship, sometimes, not everyone, again, I'm generalizing, we often pay too much attention to the social, cultural, or religious programming that got us there. We do not pay enough attention to the biological part. See, the thing is, our biology is our biology. It doesn't care about the programming. The only thing that you can do with your programming is force it upon your biology. But when you force it too much, and you don't work with your biology and you work against your biology, all that programming makes your biology repressed. And of course, it comes out in the form of men or women stepping out on their relationship, having sex with other people, viewing pornography. So chances are, if you're in a relationship and you are here watching this, you view pornography. And it's very funny when you ask men who are in committed relationships, who are okay with viewing porn, and you say, do you think this has anything with your desire to have sex with other people? They go like, no, absolutely not. This is just programming. Absolutely not. I love my wife and I only want to have sex with my wife. Pornography is obviously just entertainment because there's no need for me to have sex with other women. Then if there's no need for you to have sex with other women, why do you watch pornography in the first place? Why aren't you biologically satisfied with your partner? Right? And you get all sorts of answers to this, but at the end of the day, it comes down to programming. And most people who don't struggle with a compulsive behavior with porn or masturbation don't even want to go down that road. They don't want to think about it. It's easier to just stick with their programming. Be committed or you're a dick, okay? So that's the first part. The second part is that many men who ask this question usually feel guilty, and both men and women feel that this means that there must be something wrong in the relationship. But they also feel, and that again, this is a cultural thing, a religious thing, a societal thing, that all relationship problems can be fixed, like via communication, by going to marriage counseling. But the truth is, the programming part of the relationship can be fixed. So the societal, cultural, and religious programming can be fixed. However, you cannot fix your biology. There are only two ways it goes with biology. You either work with your biology or you work against your biology. So what does this mean? Well, working against your biology means that you are in a relationship and you see other attractive women and you have an urge to have sex with them, but instead you've been conditioned and programmed to repress that. And what that does is that's one of the things that also leads to compulsive sexual behavior, not just the nature of high-speed internet pornography, but the fact that you have this strong biological urge to spread your seed, to impregnate different women, to have sex with different women. But your programming hasn't done the greatest job of explaining why you shouldn't do it. So for instance, your religious programming has said that it is a sin, it is a bad thing, and you're going to burn in hell. But it never talked about the biological aspect. Like your social and cultural programming said that it's not a good thing to do, you're going to be ostracized, you're going to be called names. Usually when it comes to society and culture, it's all about marking you as no longer a member of the tribe. Oh, you're doing things differently. So you get pushed out, you're no longer an acceptable member of the tribe, and people judge you for that. Again, it doesn't talk about the biological aspect of this. So as I've mentioned several times, in the PornReboot system, we teach you how to work with your biology instead of against your biology. I've mentioned before, when it comes to ending your behavior with pornography, when you start trying to use willpower, it's not going to work for you. You cannot force yourself to stop masturbating. You can't use willpower. You have to understand how your mind and your biology works. But that's not what we're talking about today. I've spoken about that in various videos. Today we're talking about relationships. How do you work with your biology in relationships when you are struggling with an out-of-control behavior with porn, sex, or masturbation? Well, the first thing you do is you actually have to accept the fact that you have desires for other women. Don't run away from it. You're a man, you're a human being, and you see sexy women, right? There's actually nothing wrong with that. Again, I'm speaking biologically, so don't judge me by your religious, social, or cultural programming, because personally, I don't follow any of that, and I don't give a shit about any of those things. I only look at the reality of things as they are in this world, okay? As individuals and what we experience. So first of all, you have to accept that. Right? I think the sooner you accept it, and it's better to accept this before you're in a relationship than when you're in a relationship. But this means that there's something you can do, which we teach in the PornReboot system, called rewiring your brain to monogamy. And this is because it is advantageous to be in a committed relationship. I mean, I had a lot of sex back in the day, but eventually I felt a very strong need to bond with somebody and be in an intimate relationship. And I've grown incredibly by being in a committed, intimate relationship. It's the same for most men, right? At a certain point, many men want to be in a committed relationship. And there are also men who, from day one, they've always wanted to be in a committed relationship. They actually have no interest in being with other women. So to each their own. But if you're one of those men who's in a committed relationship and you want to stay in a committed relationship, you can rewire your brain to monogamy, which means that you can get to the point using our system where you can actually see a woman, she's beautiful, she's attractive, and you can acknowledge that about her without having any sort of significant biochemical reaction to her. So you see her, she's an attractive woman, she's got a great face. In fact, you may go even as far as to say like, man, to think like that's my type. But that's it. You've been conditioned through the process of rebooting not to carry it any further. So when you're ending your behavior, one of the first things we teach you is actually how to control your fantasy so it doesn't get you triggered. And once you learn how to do that, you can see a woman. This doesn't happen immediately, of course. You need to learn how to do it. You can see a woman, appreciate her, and then you just move on with your life. You have no sexual urge to do anything with this woman because you are rewired to have sex with your partner. And not just sex for the sake of having sex, but sex because you are intimate with this person. So your values and your principles will even change when you go through the rebooting process. Remember, it's a transformation of your life. We're not just changing one part of your life, we're changing most of your life. And thus, when it comes to sex and women, it doesn't matter how gorgeous they are. You appreciate that because you are a human being and because there's something in your brain that's going to draw your attention to that. But at the same time, you have trained your brain to prioritize intimacy and intimacy in a monogamous situation, right? And so what usually happens is, even for men who have been through our program and their relationship ended, they found that when they were out dating again, they still didn't have the desire to just sleep with women randomly. For them, while they may have had sex with women and not gotten into a relationship with them, their priority was always based on building up intimacy. And that's how you learn how to work with your biology as opposed to against it. Now, you might be listening to this and going like, JK, that's not possible. And I wouldn't blame you, because most of us have been trained to believe, or rather programmed to believe, that our sexual urges are just completely out of control, and that it would even be unnatural to do something like that. You know what I think is unnatural? I think what is unnatural is just thinking that if you put a ring on somebody's finger, have a conversation with them based on a biological feeling and say, we are together, we are going to be together forever. I think it's unnatural to do that and then watch hundreds of women, men, and transgender individuals in secret having sex and masturbating to that all the time. That's what I think is unnatural. But apparently the world thinks like, hey, that's normal, it's just entertainment. I think it is more natural and more evolved to do what we are programmed to do as human beings. We have free will. We have the ability to rewire our brains. We have the ability to decide how we want to live our lives. And we do have the ability not to change our biology. Well, scientists can do that, but we have the ability to work with our biology. And brothers, if you can take this one concept, just let me work with my biology instead of working against it, I guarantee you that so many things in your life are going to become much easier. The big challenge is this programming, which led to the question in the first place. Like, does this have something to do with my porn use? So let's round it up. Now, there are 3 situations where this may not work for you, where you may think about this and you're like, nah, I don't think that's going to work for me. Or I've tried that before, JK. I figured that out on my own, but it didn't work. Well, here are the 3 things that may be happening in your life that make this a little bit challenging for you. The first is if you have some sort of relationship issue that has nothing to do with sex. Maybe you guys are fighting about something, maybe you guys are arguing about something, maybe it's a financial issue, a familial strain within your family. And when this happens and you're stressed out, you might even become depressed, you're just not in a place where you find your partner attractive. And thus, it just becomes easier to look outwards because mentally you may have been checked out of your relationship. The second is if you are struggling with a compulsive behavior with porn, masturbation, or sex. So if you've conditioned yourself to the point that you believe that you are entitled to have sex with different women, don't forget this, when you are viewing pornography, your beliefs are changing. Whether you like it or not, you think that what is in pornography is real. Your conscious mind doesn't think that, but your subconscious mind does. Eventually, you're going to come to expect that everyone's having sex, especially if you're watching amateur pornography. You're like, oh wow, everyone is having this crazy porn-like sex, and it seems very real because they're all doing it on webcam shows, right? So this is what it should be like. I need to have something like that. I need to be a stud. I need to attract people into my life. Again, that could be a result of your compulsive behavior, especially if you're already acting out, especially if you're going out there, stepping out of your relationship, meeting women and having sex. And the third reason is if you have an unresolved issue from your past. I often have conversations with men in my program. This doesn't happen right away, but later on in our coaching relationship where they suddenly realize that, man, I got together with the first attractive woman that would have me, right? I wish I dated more. I wish I had more sexual experiences. And as I've uncovered all the bullshit that led to my out of control behavior, I realized that at the roots, I was a young guy who just wanted to have sex with a lot of women. And I was programmed to believe that if I got this one woman, this would be the best way for me to have sex. The programming worked well, but nobody told me about my biology. And thus I became addicted to pornography. And now I just have this unresolved issue. I feel like I need to go out there and have sex with women. Is that the right thing to do? No, it's a case-by-case basis. There have been situations where men ended their relationships and did that. But for the most part, again, this is just a realization that they're having. Just because you come to a realization doesn't mean you have to do something about it. We're usually able to make men see that there are a lot of other awesome things in their life. Again, in our system, nothing is stopping you from rewiring your brain towards monogamy. And we do that with many of our clients. So I hope I didn't get too deep into that topic, gentlemen. But that's the answer to the question. Like, you know, if I feel very strong desires for women outside of a relationship, or if I feel the need to be validated, to be seen as attractive by other women, does that have something to do with my porn use? The answer is yes, it does, but it also just has a lot to do with the way our society is and the way we're raised. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Now, if you feel you have more questions about this and you're like, wait, JK, I have more questions, just go ahead and ask them in the comment section below, and I will read them and I will respond to you. Thank you so much, and whenever you're ready, there are a couple of ways I can help you end your out of control behavior with porn, sex, and masturbation. The first way, gentlemen, is to download a free copy of my book. Now, there's also a link to it in the description below this video. It's called Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men, and it is the roadmap to ending your out-of-control behavior. I've been doing this for 9 years. If you want to know how my clients who've been recovered and free of porn and masturbation in many cases have been able to do so over the past 5 years, so they've been off it for over 5 years, then this is just going to have the roadmap for you. The summary, if you don't like to read too much and if you don't want to go too deep into it. The second way is to join our free Facebook group. Now, this is a group where you can learn more about my system, you can get accountability partners, you can get support in this group as well. And the final way is if you're one of those brothers who you've tried everything, you've tried stop vapping, you've tried semen retention, you've tried so many things, and you're like, listen, I want a system that has an endpoint, that's not full of empty promises, that's not talking about superpowers or how I'm going to be so attractive to women. I just want to end this behavior and move on with my life. And this happens within a certain timeline, then you may be a good fit for one of our group coaching programs. We have a very simple promise. We'll help you control your behavior within 90 days, and we'll give you all the tools that you need to permanently end your out of control sexual behavior within 1.5 years to 2 years. That's something that you can do on your own, but we'll teach you how to control it in 90 days and you're good to go after that. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll speak to you later on in the week.